Hello and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we dealt with even more cultists and managed to find we had to go into a requisitionists, I think that's the term, former base. It's the group Omicron Arc is affiliated with within the Tech Priests. And inside we found another monolith and a bunch of cultists, some heretic space marines, and one guy who got completely wrecked by a chaos dreadnought. But we managed to save him, and now we have to talk to Metrodora Thelema to see what's up.
How did the interrogation go?
The subject had severe objections to the procedure, but once I rearranged certain neural pathways and removed a few non-vital appendages, he became very compliant. I have a full report if you're interested in the details.
A summary will suffice.
The word-bearers wanted to take out this fool once their schemes were compromised. They are hiding in the depths of the Underhive, by the largest monolith. They will soon perform a grand ritual and sacrifice the remaining prisoners.
These foul traitors, and their craving for rituals. Anything else?
The Xenox devices are somehow connected to these dark practices, but the heretic had no additional information, apart from the usual ramblings. How should we proceed, Inquisitor?
We need to act immediately. We need a precise, surgical cut to sever the head.
Precise, surgical, and cuts. Excellent premises. We will start preparations at once.
Rest assured, Thorn, I don't intend to let any heretic Astartes leave this place.
So, last time I was talking a lot about, inadvertently talking a lot about like Primarchs and 40K in general, or like their role, and I wanted to talk a bit about Magnus the Red, because he doesn't get as much attention within like the community as I think he should get, because Magnus, to a degree, Magnus was kind of an idiot. He meant well. Like, what had happened was, one thing that happened was that just before the Horus Heresy, Magnus found out that Horus Lupercal was going to betray the Emperor. So what he did was he was like, okay, I can reach the Emperor and warn him, but I have to use this forbidden ritual. And being the greatest psyker there was, he went for it. You know, you can't blame him, his skills were that good. The problem is, by doing so, he opened up a ton of portals within the webway. And the webway is what the Emperor was experimenting with at the time to allow humanity to travel. Because the webway is faster than going through the warp and would essentially cut off the warp's access to people. You know, you can't have demons hopping out onto ships and stuff if there's no ships for them to hop out onto. But because Magnus decided to warn him and do it in arguably the dumbest way possible, he opened up the webway to demons and screwed up the entire plan and didn't exactly win any favors in the process. He was also betrayed by, I believe it was Horus, or it was either Horus or Lorgar of the Word-Bearers, who changed the orders that the Space Wolves got and made it seem like they were ordered to bomb Prospero, which was Magnus's world. And of course, by burning the entire planet because space wolves were more than willing to do so, it set off Magnus, because he spent a long time during the Crusades collecting all the arcane knowledge he could. And then on the planet, he ended up fighting, I don't know, I think it was Lehman Russ. Yeah, it was Russ. And he fought him, and at the last possible second, Aztec Ahriman, his essentially second in command, managed to open up a portal to the warp and pull all of the Thousand Suns through. And in doing so, he pulled Magnus's soul. His body ended up being destroyed in combat with Lehman Russ, and he was shattered into fragments. The interesting thing with the fragments is, of the fragments, they contain parts of his personality. So there were some on Terra that dealt with like the good aspects of his personality. There were parts that dealt with, you know, his own pain from feeling betrayed at the Council of Nicaea. There was all these different fragments, but they're all sentient. They all act on their own interests, and actually some of them interfered in the 41st millennium when Ahriman was attempting to cast the rubric a second time, because the first time he cast the rubric, it's what created the rubric Marines. It killed all of the Thousand Suns and essentially bound their souls to their armor, Full Metal Alchemist style. And Aztec Ahriman always felt terrible about it, so he tried to do it again and reverse it, but some of the fragments, along with a group of sorcerers, wanted to stop that. As a result, it cost more shards of Magnus, because Magnus has been trying to collect them to become whole again, because without it he isn't fully whole, and to my understanding can't be in the material plane all the time, since he's still part warp / part soul. And an interesting thing is, Malcador the Sigillite, who's a big name in Horus Heresy, managed to get a hold of one of Magnus's shards.
There was a protective
And
hex
what
on the
he
chest.
did was he bound that shard to a body, creating a man who became known as Janus. Janus. And the thing with Janus is he is the first Grandmaster of the Grey Knights, which makes the Grey Knights very interesting, that the premier anti-demon force was initially led by a man who became a greater demon, or like a demon lord, and was one of the strongest psychers, if not the strongest, just under the Emperor. Also, Magnus, literally when they call him Magnus the Red, he is as red as a tomato. Why? I don't know. He's just red. He ended up losing his eye in a deal, coincidentally, with Tzeentch. Granted, he didn't know at the time, because, you know, Tzeentch isn't just gonna roll up in his many-faceted form and be like, yo, I am he. He's just gonna roll around in a billion different shapes, forms, and masks to mess with everyone. But I find him to be a very interesting Primarch. It is fascinating, though, because the Emperor working on the Webway, that was a project that kind of started the Horus Heresy.
Acknowledged. I wonder if this has anything to do with those traitors down there.
Because what happened was, the Emperor, during their crusades to reunite humanity, the Emperor had all the Primarchs, or at least most of them, and was like, okay, Horus, you are going to be War Master. You take care of the crusade, I got some stuff to do at home. He went back to Terra and was working on the Webway, and didn't tell anyone. Now, within the lore, they're like, oh, it's because he didn't want to anger, I think it's the Nobilis Stellari? Or something along those lines. It's the Navigators, the Stellar Navigators. Because it was essentially, he was afraid that it would anger them. And it did. A prototype the Emperor had was sabotaged because these humans were not happy with potentially losing their position and their power.
A gas trap? Not a boring day at all.
And of course, no one else knew, and everybody, especially Horus became very resentful because to him it was like, oh, the Emperor doesn't care about this anymore. That's why he left. He doesn't care about the crusade or anything, when in fact it was the Emperor saying, look, I got trust in you guys, you can handle this. I have another big project I need to work on. Should he have told the Primarchs? Probably. But you don't exactly foresee chaos screwing everything up and all these issues. There's also the fact that one of the things leading up to the Horus Heresy was also resentment towards humans, because no Primarchs were allowed on the Council of Terra. And they saw it as kind of a slap in the face, like, oh, why do these spindly humans get to do all this and we can't? Once again, I think the easiest way would be to have... If you wanted to rate the Emperor as smart enough to avoid these problems, he would have had to have just been like, look, I don't want you guys doing this crap because it's below you. You are far better than having to sit around and deal with bureaucracy and this petty bullshit. You guys, you are the sons of the Emperor. You can do better things and be more useful. And I feel like at that point, I feel they would understand and be like, oh yeah, you know, you're right. We don't need to do this dumb stuff. Have fun.
Sorcerer, your machinations end today.
Lucky of the false Emperor! He will not stop the ritual! The warp will bring the fires of destruction and show you the power of the true gods!
No mercy for the heretic, no forgiveness for the traitor.
But I think another thing that kind of falls on all this is the Primarchs act like children. When you really look at it, the way they get angry about some of this stuff, like Horus being like, oh, Dad doesn't want to do this anymore, so just stuck me with it. My first thought is, shut up. You are effectively a demigod. I understood when the Iron Hands were like, look, we got stuck, or not the Iron Hands, the Iron Warriors, when they defected, because they're like, look, we get stuck with, like, latrine duty all the time. We get the worst jobs. I get that. I understand, like, regular Space Marines being like, we get the shaft every time. We're not getting respected, we get the worst jobs, everybody else gets these cool things, we're the best. Understandable. When you're a demigod, it's like, oh, wah, Dad doesn't want to lead the war anymore. He's making me do it. It's like, dude, shut your hole. the Emperor looked at you and said, okay, you are competent enough to do this. I'm gonna let you take care of it. It's like, would you rather have him watching over you the whole time and be like, look, you're too stupid to handle this on your own. This is why I'm here.
It's impersonal, sorcerer. These fanatics always have a grimoire somewhere. I need to find it. Here's it.
And another thing was when, this is looping back to Magnus, when Magnus did the ritual to warn the Emperor, by him opening up all these spots for demons to pop into the webway, it trapped the Emperor, not in the webway, but essentially on Earth, on Terra, because what happened was the Emperor was like, okay, I have to sit on the Golden Throne, because that is where I'm able to keep these demons locked in place, and they won't run rampant on Terra. They won't show up here and cause any problems if I'm here. I can use my psychic abilities. So he really screwed things up. Granted, was it wrong? Was it wrong? Yes. But he was in the right mind. He was doing it as actual warning. Now his actions towards, like, Mortarion, and how he was helping Mortarion deal with becoming more warp aligned and dealing with the effects the warp has on him, those were never done out of, like, oh, you're my brother, let me help. It was all manipulation at that point for that.
Over the faithful, fear has no dominion. The traitors will perish today.
Alright, so that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. If you are new, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
The Conclave has sent you a message, Inquisitor.
I have received your report, and I am very satisfied with the way you have handled the situation. However, I must add that I have found certain details lacking, especially the ones that concern the role of the Adeptus Mechanicus in the unfolding events. I cannot stress enough the importance of thorough fieldwork. Carelessness leads to negligence, which will eventually lead to anti-imperial activities. All in all, great work. The Emperor protects,